Hello, and welcome to the Hidden Empire. My name is McCallum. I first discovered ants in a pretty relatable way, scrolling YouTube's recommendations. I immediately watched all of the videos of the creator, and then I binged many other creators. The hobby has stuck with me, and today I'd like to share it with you. Now, when most people look at ants, all they see are pests. But what they don't know is that they're actually the world's premier engineers and innovators of agriculture and even warfare. Now today I'd like to shrink perspective to that of an ant, so I can guide you through their amazing civilizations. Now, I'm sure it'll come as not a shock to hear that ants outnumber us quite significantly. But there's actually almost 20 quadrillion ants on Earth. It's kind of a lot of zeros. And that's 2.5 million ants for every person. I don't think we would have enough seats if each of you was replaced with 2.5 million ants. Now, ants first evolved from wasps during the Cretaceous period. It's about 141 million years ago to about 66 million years ago. But during that time, it wasn't the ants that were at the center stage. It was dinosaurs. Ants were merely a footnote. It wasn't until the end of the Cretaceous period that ants truly started their rise to greatness. And that is all because of one thing: flowers. Believe it or not, flowers sparked ants' massive diversification and spurred their evolution. And this is because flowers are part of the family of angiosperms. Angiosperms at that same time were rapidly evolving and transforming the global ecosystem, as they have a unique characteristic of releasing moisture through their leaves. This allowed ants to survive in new habitats. Now, they also allowed ants to create new mutualistic relationships with plants. One of these ways is through extrafloral nectarines, which are little nodes on many flowering plants, which attract ants with sugary secretions. Ants, in return, protect the plants from pests, which the ants eat. Another way that they have mutually realistic relations with plants is through seed dispersal, especially here in the Sonoran Desert with so many grass species relying almost solely on ants for their seed dispersal. Now, this rapid diversification and evolution allowed ants to expand into new ecological niches and allowed them to conquer the world, essentially. Now, one of the best examples of the evolutionary marvels of these ants are leafcutter ants, who, far different from their ancestors who were solely carnivores, these ants eat fungus. Now, most people believe that they eat leaves, but that's a fallacy. These ants bring the leaves into their nest where they have massive fungus gardens. That's right, ants invented agriculture millions of years before we even thought. Now, these ants eat the fungus, and in return, the fungus has a safe place to thrive within their nest. And that's the only place in the world it's found. Now, how does a colony function? And how does a colony even get there? We all know that an ant colony has a queen, who's the center of everything. But truly, at least I believe, that it starts with an egg. One fertilized egg. That egg soon hatches into a larva, which is like a little grub. The larva is subjected to pheromones and it's fed by the workers until it eventually grows into a pupa. It spins a cocoon, eventually emerges, much like a butterfly does through metamorphosis, into its adult form, which can be a worker, a queen, or a male ant, also known as a drone. Now we're going to focus on that queen. That queen sits in her nest, and she's fed by the workers to prepare her to go out and start a new colony. And notice she has wings, and so does the male. Now, when the conditions are right, usually when it's warm and humid, the queens and males will fly in huge swarms from their colonies. They'll mate, all of the males die, and then the queens fall to the ground and start their new colonies, all on their own. And I think it's important to mention here that all workers are female. A lot of people don't know that. The males serve one purpose only, and that is in these nuptial flights, the mating flights. Now, ants have an incredible role in the environment and in every ecosystem across the world. They're vital at providing ecosystem services like soil aeration. They actually compete with worms for the top spot at soil aeration just because of how much soil these ants move. They also cycle nutrients, and they play a vital role in the food web. Ants, believe it or not, they don't just eat leaves, as we've seen in some of the previous examples. They are incredible carnivores, which is how they started out. They'll even be known to hunt small mammals and even amphibians. Now, they're also prey items, and they are vital for that exact purpose. There are thousands of species to date that are specialized at doing one thing, and that's eating ants. Now, how have we affected ants, and how have they affected us? This is the most important part about this talk. And the main way that we have affected them is in the creation of super colonies. Now, a super colony, many of you have probably not heard of. And it was only created due to our human interference. Now, super colonies are all formed out of invasive species. And it's a collection of nests, because normally in the wild, ant colonies will battle ruthlessly with each other, even if they're the same species. It's very rare that ants will actually cooperate. But in these super colonies, dozens, hundreds, thousands, even millions of nests can work together, sharing resources, sharing queens, sharing everything. They have no reason to fight each other because they all have the same scent. This is because lone queens hitched a ride on boats during the era of colonialization. It wasn't only us colonizing the world, but these ants came with us. And when they arrived, there wasn't enough genetic diversity for them to know not to fight each other, or to fight each other. And so they created super colonies. Now, a prime example of this is the red-imported fire ant, Solenopsis invicta. I'm sure that everyone here can agree that fire ants are a nuisance. But I'm sure you don't know to the degree at which that has impacted, for instance, the United States. The USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, has sent out statistics saying that annually, the red-imported fire ant alone causes over $8 billion in damages to electrical equipment, agriculture, and I'm sure they've ruined hundreds of picnics as well. Another prime example of this is the Argentine ant, also known as Leopithema humana. Now, they were first identified to form super colonies in 1913. But since then, hundreds of super colonies have been identified across the world. There's one in California, which spans 600 miles of one contiguous colony. In Europe, there's a colony that spans over 3,700 miles. And the craziest part is that when scientists tested workers of these two colonies together, they didn't fight each other. That's right, super colonies do not only span hundreds, thousands of miles. They span the globe. Now, I think it goes without saying that these super colonies have an incredible impact. And as I mentioned before, they are all invasive species. Let's look at the Solenopsis invicta global distribution. They originated in South America and spread primarily to the United States, but also Southeast Asia. And they are notorious for their stings. But the worst part isn't just their impact directly on humans, it's their impact on the environment. These species, when they arrive, they are easily able to outcompete all native species, especially native ant species. And they have few, if any, natural predators to keep their populations down. The U.S. once tried to eradicate Solenopsis invicta by putting poison across thousands of acres of land, and it did not work. What happened instead was that the native species and the fire ants adjusted the poison, and everything died. And it was incredibly harmful to the ecosystem. And then the fire ants came back in even greater force. Now, as we can see, these super colonies are a force to be reckoned with. When ants set aside their differences, stop fighting each other, and work together, you can see they're an almost unstoppable force. I think that humans stand to learn something from that cooperation. Moving into the future, it will be incredibly difficult to combat these invasive species. But if we recognize our role in their expansion and loss of biodiversity due to these species, it'll be easier for us to come to a solution to mitigating the loss of biodiversity as a result of these invasive species. So I think I've answered that question. Why are ants so interesting? Thank you.